It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and 10. All right, welcome into episode 150 of the Border War. This is BG. I am joined in studio with TanMan. TanMan, my voice is a little messed up, so just bear with me. I'm going to do the best I can today.
Messed up? It sounds pretty normal to me, but I'm going to go with that.
Spent Saturday and Sunday screaming at my television. We'll get into that.
I was going to say, why would you scream at the TV?
Neither of those teams. I guess it's just allergies. I don't know what's going on with me. You can follow us on Twitter at the Border War. I am at BG_Border War, and TanMan is at Tar Heel TanMan.
You got it right.
That's on Twitter. I always want to say TanMan Tar Heel for some reason. I don't know why.
I think last week you gave my old Twitter handle.
TanMan3264.
Yeah. Every time I
can remember those numbers till the day I die.
I've got a friend, and every time he calls me or texts me, or if I see him or something, he'll be like, TanMan 326475493, and he'll just play out a big string of numbers. I'm like, yeah, Joe, it's not that anymore, man.
Is Joe funny?
Yeah, he's a pretty funny guy.
Pretty funny guy, huh?
I like Joe. Known him a long time.
All right, so if you're listening to the show on any of those platforms, which we don't really need to go through, you've obviously found us. But, man, like or share the podcast, follow us, subscribe to the podcast. Starting to see a little bit of that going on. All right, so, TanMan, we're going to get started this week in the NFL. But before we get into Week 10, Colin Kaepernick held a workout, which was scheduled. And I didn't, to be fair here, I didn't follow this super close. The NFL scheduled it, right? And X number of teams were slated to show up. And was the problem that Kaepernick had that they weren't going to let video cameras or something be present?
Here's the thing. This is a topic that we have kind of kicked out of the box. And not just us. I think nationally the topic
we talked about it a lot.
Gone away.
For the first year he was out because there were a lot of situations where guys were really in need of a quarterback, and we're sort of like, come on. Yeah. This is clearly...
Here he is, and
they're not going to sign him.
We're going to sign Josh Johnson. And it's like, we see what's going on here. Now, this was if you haven't followed this situation, the NFL did something that I've never seen them do, and all the ESPN guys and Fox, they all say it's basically unprecedented. They scheduled a tryout for him.
Right.
They did all of this for him. Now, I can't remember another free agent where the league has come in and said, okay, we will host a tryout, but it came with a lot of stipulations, a lot of red tape. They called him up and basically gave him 2 hours to decide whether or not he would be there. There was a problem with it, a big stink about it being on a Saturday. Most of the NFL tryouts are on Tuesdays.
Tuesdays, right.
So that, a lot of folks weren't going to be available because they would be traveling with their teams to their games. So there was a big stink about that. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back was they wanted him, before he took the field, to sign a waiver agreeing that in the future he would be unable to sue the NFL for any reason.
For any reason?
For any reason was my understanding.
That's broad.
And he kind of, Colin Kaepernick, say what you want about him, he's not a stupid guy.
No.
He's a very sharp guy. And he played the NFL like a fiddle on this thing, and 2 hours before it was supposed to go down, him and his people, they tell all the media folks, because I think there was something, they had said something like representatives, and then we don't know who these representatives are. It could have been, the guy that sells the popcorn for the Packers, and they say the Packers have a representative here. But they pulled, and he was supposed to have 20-something representatives there at the NFL's workout. They get the word out, no. We're going to do our own thing over here.
At a high school.
At a high school, because they wanted to let the media could go, but they couldn't tape. Well, over here, they wanted to have the full access. The media could shoot what they want. And I think something like 11 teams followed him to the new workout. But the NFL comes out of this thing, in my opinion, looking like a bunch of bumbling idiots.
Well, I mean, that's how they've come out of just about every controversial thing that has happened in the past 5 or 6 years. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they're not. It just feels like the NFL is so full of bureaucracy they can't react to anything. So many people get their hands on an issue by the time that Goodell makes a decision that it's.
I just don't know.
What did they think he was going to do?
Exactly. I just don't know what did the NFL think that they were going to accomplish by doing this. It blows my mind that they thought he would just kind of chuckle around and, well, okay, guys, yeah, where do I sign? Like, he was never going to do any of that stuff,
and
man.
I mean, aside, and look,
and besides
whatever your opinion is about Kaepernick's stance and how he chose to express himself, aside from that one thing, this guy's been a model citizen in the NFL. He never caused any problems.
He doesn't get in trouble off the field.
And for them to suggest that they thought this was going to be some kind of clown show, we need all this control over it. It makes no sense.
This was the NFL. This was their last ditch attempt to just completely wipe their hands clean of it and say, "Listen, we've done everything we could do. We gave him a showcase platform all to himself for every team in the league, and if he doesn't get signed, now it's all on the teams, right?"
Yeah.
My personal opinion, I thought there was a very, very small chance. They say he came out of the workout, looking great.
Well,
I think they said one NFL personnel in attendance said his throwing the ball, his arm, it all looks exactly the same the last time you saw him. I think there was a small chance that somebody may have signed him, but in my opinion, his press conference afterwards, completely nipped that in the bud. Did you see that?
Yeah, I watched.
No, he basically stood up there and.
Well, you could tell he was mocking them as he gave the press conference.
No, he stood up there and basically just threw the whole thing back in the NFL's face. Like, this is. It's not happening.
I think one of the things too that he was. Am I wrong in thinking that it's quite possible that his objective to begin with was just, and the reason he wanted there to be taping, and which was what I thought one of the major hangups was.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Was that he wanted you and me, casual sports guy, to watch him throw the football and to realize the reasons this guy's not getting signed have nothing to do with football, man.
Yeah, but didn't we already know that?
I mean, I think some of us do, but I think there are a lot of people who will make the argument that there are football reasons that he was never that good. Well, and you're right, he was never that good, but there are a lot of guys on NFL teams right now that aren't as good.
Exactly, and that's what I've always said all along. Anytime this topic comes up, like, do I think that he was one of the 15 best quarterbacks? No, not. Yeah, at the end, maybe for a very, very small window of time.
When his first year,
right, when he left the league, his last year in the league, I do not think he was in the top half of quarterbacks. No. But do I think that there are 60 quarterbacks in the world better than him? Probably not.
Do I think that he could play on the level that Case Keenum gave you this year?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
if you're
and he could get out of the pocket and move. I mean, or he could. I mean, he's 33 years old now, almost. So, I mean, I think you're right. He knows it was over. I think he just wanted to.
He wanted the last hurrah, I think. Because to me, standing up there in front of the microphone like he did after it was over with, and the things he said, he was basically throwing up the middle finger back at the NFL. I think this was. I heard somebody suggest that they thought the whole thing was just cover for some teams that might be interested, have real interest in bringing him in, but they didn't want to be the first one. You know what I mean?
Right.
They didn't want to be the one to go out on the ledge with him. And now I think he just kind of lit a match to all that. I'd be very surprised if he winds up on a roster. Even a terrible team in dire need of a quarterback, I just don't see it.
Why you got to put it like that, man? Why you got to look at me and say stuff like that?
Look, I'm just saying And
I'm pretty sure we were one of the teams there. I know we were.
I think you guys were one of the ones that showed up on the new workout.
Tells you something right there.
Week 10, I think we got a Monday night game tonight, but basically Week 10 is all in the books. So a quick look around the league, BG. Of course, in the AFC, you've got the Patriots running the show. Right behind them is the Ravens.
Who may be a better team right now.
Maybe. You've got the Colts. Currently leading the AFC South.
Yeah, the AFC South is all trash right now, man. It's just kind of a bunch of I think in the AFC, looking at it, you've got the Patriots and you've got the Ravens, and then you've got
a bunch of junk around them.
Well, and you've got the Chiefs and the Raiders, but those two teams seem to be headed in different directions. Have the Raiders won 3 in a row now? Am I right about that?
The Chiefs and the who?
The Raiders.
The Raiders, baby.
Yeah, but they're not going to win the Super Bowl, so you still look like an idiot.
It doesn't matter.
You've picked them to win the Super Bowl the last 19 years.
How's that Marcus Mariota thing working out for you?
Well,
crickets.
What did I say about Marcus Mariota? That he would get? I said he would be out of the league.
You said that he would win the MVP. In the NFC,
that was 2 years ago, man.
In the NFC, my Cowboys 6-4 right now, a game ahead of the Eagles. Some weeks we are. The Packers lead the North, but the hard-charging Minnesota Vikings, don't look now, BG. Here comes the Vikings.
They'll blow it.
The Saints, I think they said their playoff chances are at 99%.
Do the Saints feel like an 8-2 team to you?
To me, it's hard to judge the Saints because they spent a large window of the season without Drew Brees.
I think they looked better without Drew Brees.
Well, he's also busted up his thumb on his throwing hand too.
Well, but we talked about this last year. You know, this is about the time of the season. In fact, it might be a little past that time of the season where Brees started sort of dropping off last year.
You're right. But out west, maybe the most interesting division in football.
Oh, no question.
The Niners currently at 9-1, followed by the Seahawks at 8-2, and then you've got the Rams still just kind of floating out there in the periphery. Treading water at 6-4.
This division's beating up on every other division. That's what's going on.
You're looking at a situation where Seattle and San Francisco play later on in the season. That game is likely.
The Seahawks have already taken the road game in that matchup.
That game will be at Seattle, and you're looking at a situation where these two teams, one of them might finish first, and the other one is going to finish fifth in the NFC and hit the road in a wild card round,
which is crazy.
Which is not good because guess who would be the 4th seed more than likely in the playoffs?
Who would that be?
That would be the Dallas Cowboys.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, BG, the playoff picture is starting to take shape.
I think the NFC representative for the Super Bowl comes out of that division. I think it's the 49ers of the season.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And it's not just their records. I'm looking at what those teams can do in cold weather, road games if necessary. If Zeke was looking like Zeke should be looking, then I'd like your chances too. But
Seattle, a team that I'm from the NFC that I'm going to buy. I want to say Minnesota because I think the Vikings, after they had their little internal strife with the Kirk Cousins hate a few weeks ago. Listen, the Vikings have looked really strong.
They have.
But I'm with you. I think Seattle
and we're just ignoring Green Bay, right? I
don't want to say I'm ignoring Green Bay. If I'm picking a team to buy right now, I'm going Seattle, and it's because of just what you just said. If they finish 5th and they go on the road, I don't think that's a team that cold weather is going to bother them.
Nothing's going to bother them.
They're not going to go on the road. They play in the loudest stadium in the league, like a road stadium. A loud road crowd is not going to bother that team. And they've probably got maybe the leader in the clubhouse for the MVP this season as their quarterback. I might take Seattle.
Is Seattle
out of the NFC right now?
Seattle, San Francisco, is that the best rivalry in the league right now? You look at all the cross pollination in the division. Richard Sherman. The two records come.
That would be fascinating.
It's a pretty.
They played in a couple NFC Championship games, several years ago.
That game,
they were fantastic. Man.
That game on Monday night, was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
Which one?
The first time they met this season.
I think it was a couple weeks ago.
That was one of the best NFL games I've watched in a long time. Those two defenses, you know how people will say defensive football can be exciting? Those two defenses are exciting. They fly to the football. Yeah. Both of those defenses.
Yeah, I tell you, that NFC Championship a couple years ago, it went, interestingly enough, that was during the Colin Kaepernick run in San Francisco.
It was, yep.
But that one that they played in Seattle where I think Richard Sherman knocked the ball away of Michael Crabtree, then told the reporter afterwards he was garbage or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
that game was
fantastic,
man.
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing.
That's what you want out of the NFL.
And now, like you said, having Sherman on the other side of that, oh, man, I can't wait.
Yeah. No, it sounds exciting. But you got one more regular season matchup in Seattle, but of course, I don't know. Smart money's probably on the 49ers in that one because Seattle went into San Francisco and beat them a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. So they'll probably return the favor. I don't see anybody sweeping this series, but I could be wrong.
Over in the AFC, you said it. It kind of looks like a two-horse race.
The Chiefs just not doing what we thought they would do. And so you've got the Ravens and the Patriots and meeting. Well, they met 2 weeks ago, and the Ravens just handed them their butt. So there's that.
I just find it hard to believe that Bill Belichick is going to let that happen.
Oh, I agree.
A second time, you know.
I agree. The
I
Ravens look like what we both thought they would look like last year. I remember sitting up in that echoey room that we were using back then and talking about the predictions, and we were both high on Baltimore. We were like, this team, nobody's going to see it coming. This is going to be a good football team.
Where it was Joe Flacco,
and it was still Joe Flacco.
Flacco.
Yes, it was like that. But it turns out that it was a pretty good roster. But, man, they needed to break that mold and get rid of that quarterback. And, Lord, I told you, and I wasn't really out on a limb here, but I remember after the draft every year, we pick one guy to watch out for that nobody's looking out for. And that was a guy. Matt was my guy, man. Lamar Jackson. I said, look, this kid has a chance to do some things that, and the real reason I picked that is because I thought he looked like an RG3 that could take a hit. He avoided contact better than Griffin ever did. And, I mean, now he's still got a really rough game. But the results speak for itself. I mean, there are certain plays he pulls off that there's not one other player in the NFL. I haven't seen a more dynamic athlete at quarterback since Michael Vick.
That's what I was
saying.
Since Michael
all
Vick,
these people holding on, saying he's this that we've never seen anything like this. I'm like, I can tell when y'all started watching pro football because if you didn't see Michael Vick in 2002, man, you just don't know.
Oh, my goodness.
That stuff was insane. But
Mike Vick from his last year at Virginia Tech up through probably, what would you say?
About
his first 4 or 5 years in the league.
Yeah.
Well,
really, till he got arrested.
Yeah.
Well,
the football has been going on in Green Bay. Green Bay is football royalty in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
The first player to go in and beat Green Bay in a playoff game in Lambeau Field.
And at the time, that was huge.
And at the time, oh my goodness, was huge. Mike Vick. And Lamar Jackson is kind of is having this same effect right now. Find me again in a year, which won't be hard because we'll be sitting here, maybe in a much bigger place, a much fancier place a year from now. Find me in a year from now, and let's discuss what Lamar Jackson is doing. Because if he's still doing this time next year, then I'm like, okay.
That really is the test.
Now I think I'll get on board. I can't push my money into the middle of the table on this, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just I'm hamstrung by this old school thinking.
You've watched so much, but drop back quarterback, and we've talked about it with Cam ad nauseum that this league proves that eventually, and it's usually season 2. At the latest, season 3, that you've got to be able to stand in the pocket, read a defense, and throw the football.
And I will say this. The difference between him and Cam, though, is Cam sought out contact. Cam took a beating. He wanted to hit you a lot of these runs. Lamar Jackson runs like a 4.2 40. Like, he doesn't get hit, man.
No.
You can't get a hold of him. You cannot touch this guy.
And he stops on a dime.
Oh, goodness.
Stops on a dime.
Oh, my goodness. BG, if I'm looking outside of those two teams in the AFC, probably not a shocker to you, I'm going with the Oakland Raiders to make a playoff push here.
I mean,
I'm going to take the Raiders.
Sometimes things in the locker room just click because you've won a couple of games. This team doesn't look like they looked early in the year.
No, they've won 3 straight now. Look at the remaining schedule. Jets. They go to Arrowhead, which is probably going to.
I don't know. The Jets looked pretty good yesterday.
The Washington Football Club has a way of bringing that out. But the Jets, Titans, Jaguars, Chargers, Broncos closing it out. They're staring at 10 wins. Raiders can get to 10 wins.
Sure.
They'll win the AFC West. And a team I'm off of, stop talking to me about the Houston Texans, man.
Oh, yeah.
Because every week, you look at the schedule and go, oh, Houston's playing. Oh, it's going to be a great. And then, some weeks they'll look fantastic, and some weeks they just get drilled. It's like there's no in between for them.
They were overmatched yesterday.
I don't know.
That Baltimore team is. I mean, at least for this season, they're going to cause some problems.
Ravens Patriots AFC Championship. Is it going to be in Baltimore? Right now it's in Foxborough, but the Patriots drop another game, and all of a sudden the Ravens are in the driver's seat.
Let's look at the Patriots' schedule real quick. Get that up for me.
All right.
Let's just see what that looks like, because we know that beating them in Foxborough in October and beating them in December are not the same
That
thing.
game was in Baltimore that they won, right?
And the thing about what you said about Belichick, too, is that you got to remember that Belichick had film on Lamar Jackson, but having film with him against your defense is really going to help Belichick do something with that. They'll have an answer for him. I feel like they can make him throw the football, but like you said, if he can just out-athlete everybody on your defense, then I don't know what you can do to game plan for that. So that's an interesting dynamic. I've said as much as I can while the Wi-Fi kicks in here. I mean, I felt like I stalled pretty well there.
It'll come up. In the meantime, let's move on to the Cowboys. We'll pick that up whenever it pops up. The Cowboys, BG, 6-4 now. The 2 consecutive subpar games by Zeke Elliott. Feels like this offense, we always heard this offense runs through Zeke Elliott. They're going to go as far as anymore. I don't think that's the case anymore. Dak Prescott, you remember this time last year, we're talking about Dak Prescott, and the story was he can't hit 200 yards. He's struggling to hit 180 yards, and that's 3 400-yard games this season. Listen, Dak Prescott, toss his hat in the ring, his name in the box, whatever you want to say for the MVP talk. He's not getting I don't think he's getting a ton of love for that right now. Sure as heck should be, because they're 6-4 right now, basically because of him. Like he's the straw that stirs the drink right now. Looking forward, they've got the Patriots, and this window. We talked before the year for the Cowboys how the schedule was light early, really really backloaded. As I'm looking at it now, the Bears were in that. The Bears are not the Bears, right? The Rams are not the Rams.
No.
The Eagles are not as good as we thought they would be. So all of a sudden, this last, this 5 or 6 week window,
we thought those might be 3 straight losses. It looked like a murderer's row, and now
we thought this was going to be unbelievable.
Teams that are about the same as you.
Yeah, the schedule seems pretty manageable right now. So at 6-4, maybe you wind up somewhere around 10-6, 11-5. Are the Cowboys toying with my emotions again, or do you think this is a team that, when their ducks are in a row, if they can get them in a row, that can push the Niners and Seahawks and the Packers and the Saints?
Well, I guess the answer to that question is what has caused the inconsistency. Like not from a football standpoint, but what do we think in that locker room? What dynamics have caused those inconsistencies because you know that, I mean, in the playoffs, it only has to rear itself one time.
Right.
I mean, the Cowboys are almost certainly going to be playing a team with a better record than them on the road by the second round of the playoffs. If I had to guess right now, I would say the Cowboys win one more playoff game, the first round, and that'll probably be it. That'd be my guess. And it's just, again, that's not me being a Redskins fan. That's not you being a Cowboys fan. I'm just like looking at these teams, and I just think that there are three really good teams in the NFC that are probably better than Dallas.
Okay. I would say this. If you are willing to go out on the ledge and that they would win one playoff game, we just talked about it, that one playoff game would be San Francisco.
Well,
it would be Seattle.
Well, and that's why I started to not even say that because I don't think you match up well against either one of those teams.
Yeah.
I think that both of those teams will completely shut Zeke down. Like, you'll have to abandon that early.
See, here's the thing, though. Last year and in years past, when you shut Zeke down, that was the death knell. I mean, that was the end of the ride for the Cowboys offense. Now it is not.
Right, but the thing about Dak in those situations is the other thing they can shut down is your pass protection. And
see, that's my concern is the offensive line.
I think he can have it, because I think both of Seattle, obviously, like there have been two games I've watched Seattle this year. Not on the stat sheet, but I've seen Jadeveon Clowney just completely take over two football games. Like just in the backfield, he's almost in the backfield so quick that he can't sack the quarterback because the quarterback's not where he's supposed to be yet. Like he's behind the quarterback. And then San Francisco's defensive line. I don't know how much 49er football you've watched, but dear God in heaven,
their defense is the real deal.
Terrifying.
Their defense
their
is the
defensive
truth.
line versus your offensive line, man. I don't like that for the Cowboys at all. At all. And again, the Cowboys' offensive line, I can't figure out what the issue is. At least your offensive line will talk to your quarterback. We're going to get into that in a minute. But, I mean, Dallas's offensive line, I mean, that's supposed to be your strength, but this is going on 2 years in a row now where we've had some real questions about Zach Martin and company.
Well, we championed this offensive line as being the best line in football.
No question.
For years and years and years.
Two seasons ago, it was true.
Well, even as far back as the end of Tony Romo's run, like that was the big thing. The offensive line was jam up, and the question marks were everywhere else. And now I think as we plugged holes other places, now I think water has started seeping out of that.
Yeah.
And it's like we just can't seem to get it.
The water temperature is sort of like the frog, and you heard the analogy, like the frog sits in the water. If you turn the temperature up slowly, he doesn't really notice that something's wrong. Yeah, it's not any one thing that's happened.
No,
but just all of a sudden you look up and this offensive line isn't very good.
No, they stay back. I don't know. I'm going to say, they're probably just toying with us right now. That's because again, I think that San Francisco, Seattle are 1A and 1B, and you're going to turn around and draw one of those two teams in that first playoff game. It's a tough ask, man. It's a tough ask. We've had it pulled up. What was your question about the Patriots? What do they have?
Just their upcoming schedule.
Let's see. They finish out Cowboys at Houston, Chiefs at Cincinnati, Buffalo at Miami. So I see the Chiefs maybe. I'm not sure if their defense can hold up. And then you've got the Texans. Listen, when the Texans are good, they're really good, and when they stink, they really stink.
And let's not be we're not going to be surprised if New England wins every one of those games.
But also don't be surprised if Buffalo, if the Bills is sitting at 7-3, maybe the best 7-3 team. Nobody talks about them at all.
Well, it's because they lost to New England again. They had that shot, and that would have gotten them into the conversation.
For Baltimore. They are at the Rams, 49ers, at the Bills. So 3 really tough games coming up. And then they close up with Pittsburgh. My money's probably going to be on them dropping a couple and New England still winding up with that home game come playoff time.
Baltimore and San Francisco, that's not a bad bet for your Super Bowl right now.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Let's see. We got 15 minutes left, so we haven't talked about the Panthers in a couple weeks, so let's start there real quick. After the Kyle Allen Love Fest went on for 4 weeks, the last 4 weeks have not been so kind to the Panthers' backup quarterback. They drop another one. This time, look, it's one thing to get drilled by San Francisco, and it's another thing to lose a game in snowy Lambeau Field. Nobody's going to hold that against you. But when you go out and you lose 29-3 at home to an Atlanta Falcons team that has just been terrible, a defense that has been terrible, and you throw 4 picks and put up 3 points, I think the grasp, however light it may have been at one point that Kyle Allen, whatever faint hope he had of being the Panthers' starting quarterback next year, I think that light is starting to, if it's not completely burned out, it is flickering.
Panthers are in a tough situation when it comes to quarterbacks because in a lot of ways, look, people need to understand this, and it's easy to be emotional about this when you're a Panthers fan, but neither one of us are. So here's my take. Just because Kyle Allen isn't who his fanboys thought he was, that still doesn't mean Cam can come back and do what Cam used to do. And every tweet I see on it, that's what it is. Yeah. It's like, let me show you how I was right and you were wrong. Right? Y'all are trash. You thought Cam wasn't the quarterback of this team. Kyle Allen's no good and blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe they're both not any good. I mean, Cam...
You deserve a ding for that, sir.
They don't have a quarterback. I don't know what Will Greer's looking like in practice right now, but...
Listen, you let a man throw 4 interceptions, then you've got zero confidence in the man behind him.
That's what it looks like. But, and it's a shame because this is a Panthers team where really this is the main question mark, right? There's talent everywhere else. I think they could still use another really dedicated number 1 wide receiver. Like McCaffrey does not need to be your leading wide receiver. He is not going to hold up year after year, touching the ball 23 times a game.
You can't throw to your running back. What do you have Sunday? 11 catches for like 140-something yards.
Right.
That's fantastic if you're Julio Jones. I don't want my running back having that much workload on him. I think they've got young talent at receiver. That's DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel. They've got some young guys. I thought Greg Olsen.
DJ Moore looks like one of those guys that could make the Pro Bowl as a WR2. He does not look like an Alshon Jeffrey. He's not going to be.
This is also, rookie wide receivers. It's basically, for most guys, it's a throwaway year anyway. Rookie wide receivers really don't set the world on fire most of the time. He's got, he's got almost 800 yards receiving right now. It's only his first year being the guy.
Sure.
And he's playing with a backup. I think DJ Moore is fully capable of being the Panthers' number 1.
Okay.
But I think there's something not quite right. I thought Greg Olsen's comments after the game were a little interesting.
I didn't see those.
Yeah, he made some comment about, almost like some of the guys kind of taking a shot at some of the younger guys. I think he said something to the effect of, the NFL is a lot more than running around and trying to look good.
I think that's a dynamic across the league, but it really comes out when you're not winning.
Yeah, that could be a shot at some of these young guys. It could be a shot at somebody even like Cam Newton, but we know he likes to look good.
Right.
Maybe there's something not quite there. Maybe it's frustration setting in from knowing that, look, this is probably Greg Olsen's last go-round, and he doesn't really want to be, a 6 or 7 win team. Is that our agent calling?
Yes,
it is.
Yeah.
Are we buying a radio station?
We've been fired.
Shocker. But no, the Panthers, for a team that it's been well documented has never had back-to-back winning seasons, which is mind-blowing considering some of the success that they've had. I mean, this has been a really successful franchise since they've come into the league.
Oh, sure.
And to still be fighting that that winning season streak that they are, they're sitting 5-5 right now. The rest of the way coming in, they haven't been good against their division. The rest of the way coming in, they've still got 2 with New Orleans. They've got Seattle. They go to Atlanta, which is after Sunday. You can't exactly chalk that up in the win column looking at it.
The Falcons have always given
to
the
Indianapolis,
Panthers trouble.
right? And then to Indianapolis. The only surefire win left on the schedule for Carolina is Washington in a couple weeks. And so, look, I think that streak is probably going to continue. I don't see the Panthers coming out of this thing any better than 8-8. No way.
I think that you're probably right on top of
does Ron Rivera keep his job if this team goes 7-9, knowing that you have missed Cam Newton now for 14 of the 16 games?
I don't know a thing about David Tepper. That if this was Jerry Richardson, I would say yes, he does. I would say he keeps his job another year. But man, I don't know this new guy. I don't know the way this. I feel like Tepper.
He didn't hire Ron.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like what I've seen, what he's going to do here in Spartanburg and everything else, is he wants to put his stamp on it. He doesn't want this old stuff. So I'll say there's a 51% chance the answer is no.
Any chance that they give serious thought to signing Colin Kaepernick? They are as in the quarterback market. They've got Eric Reed.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I just don't think so. I don't think that and everything that would come with it would fly at all in Charlotte, North Carolina. No.
One more before we move on to Redskins. Throwing a dart at the board, I think the next quarterback for the Carolina Panthers is Phillip Rivers.
It's sort of like we always talk about Steph coming to play for the Hornets, right?
I think he's an Alabama kid. He's got 9 kids, man, and I think this San Diego thing has run its course. It's going as far as it's going to go. If he stays,
what amazes me is how quick San Diego people were to throw him under the bus after that one bad Monday night game. I'm like, guys, have you been watching Phillip Rivers for the past 12 years? The Cats, this is a dog, man.
Yeah.
This quarterback, he might be the third best quarterback in the league over the duration of his career with what he's had to work with out there.
Listen, man, I think that Phillip Rivers wants he wants one more legitimate shot at it. He's not going to get it in San Diego or L.A. or London or wherever the hell they play next year.
Right.
And I think the appeal of coming back to the Southeast, coming back to North Carolina where he played his college ball at NC State, I think it's something that could entice him.
If Phillip Rivers...
More so than someplace like Tennessee or something like that.
If Phillip Rivers is the quarterback of the Charlotte Panthers at any point in the next couple of years, I will be a fan of them for that period of time. Then I'll stop again.
Agreed. So, BG, we're going to spend the last couple minutes. Your boy. They named him the starter.
Yeah.
Rest of the way, Dwayne Haskins. We've been calling it for I've been calling it for at least a month now.
But they should have done it. They should have done it in preseason. I don't know what they thought they were going to. Look, I don't want to get into all that, but the thing's been handled terribly. Haskins has been getting first-team reps for, 2 weeks now?
Couple weeks.
They come off a bye week against a team that's just as bad as they are and just look awful, man. Just look awful. Haskins shows you a few flashes here and there. I don't know if you saw the scramble 53-yard bomb in the air to Terry McLaurin that gets called back because of holding on the wrong side of the field. But he shows you these flashes where he clearly has a ton of arm talent, but overall he looked just completely overmatched and lost. But I'll tell you what else. His offensive line isn't playing for him, and I don't know if they dislike him. I don't know if they just suck. I don't know what it is, but, man, he got sacked and sacked and sacked and sacked. And I didn't get to see a lot of those plays. I just saw them happening on my phone updates because, the Redskins don't make it onto the Red Zone channel very often because they're not on offense.
Not on offense. On defense.
An ugly loss. This score was not as close as 34-17. This was really more like 34-3. The Redskins got 2 turnovers. The only points they really got were because of turnovers. that led to them having the ball in the red zone, couldn't get a first down. They can't run the football, which Bill Callahan seems to still think they need to try to do. You know what? This is going to sound a lot like episode 151 here in a few minutes, too.
Well, look, let me pitch this idea to you, BG. It's not a big secret. The Redskins season is going nowhere fast, right?
You think?
I think it's just my thinking outside the box that I like to do. When I look at the stats from this game, and I see Dwayne Haskins with 35 attempts, and I look down and I see Adrian Peterson and Darius Geis with a combined 16 carries.
It's weird.
To me, that is backwards.
Yeah.
Right? You should be feeding these running backs. If I'm Washington, I am approaching each game, at each possession, offensively as its own game. I don't care if the score is 28-0 in the first quarter. When we get the ball, we're going to operate as if the score is 0-0.
We're going to run like a scrimmage.
It is 0-0. It is the first possession of the game. We are not. They cannot let the game and the score dictate
because the games don't matter.
Because they don't exactly. Right. They don't matter. Let this kid run a normal offense, and if you go 3. That's fine. It's fine because at this point, determining whether or not Dwayne Haskins can be a viable NFL quarterback next year and the year after and the year after is infinitely more important than trying to hawk down the New York Jets on a Sunday in November when you're 1-8.
You have so little time left to do what you're saying. It's amazing what they've done with this season. Like, this is why when these people tell you that these guys know more about football than you do, I'm not sure about that sometimes.
Right.
We talked about this before the season started, and what did I say? I said it really depends on whether or not Jay Gruden is thinking he needs to save his job. And what else did I say? When they drafted Dwayne Haskins, what should they have done? Fire Jay Gruden. Right then.
Yeah, I mean, if you
should not bring a new quarterback in.
Let that coach pick his
should Jay Gruden not have been fired before the draft? Like, this, everything about this is backwards. It makes no sense. I don't think Dwayne Haskins is going to be a starting quarterback in Washington after this season.
So you think this is it?
Well, because I think what's going to happen is a new coach is going to come in. He's going to have this to go on. And what is he going to want to do? He's going to want to trade him for a 4th-round pick, and that'll be the end of it.
Wow.
But here's my thing. Because they're not going to do what you said they're going to do, right?
I know, and listen, that goes against every NFL player and coach's thought. But really, what does what does it matter?
They have those thoughts too. Haskins, I'm sure you saw the film of him going over, trying to talk to his offensive line.
And they're giggling at him.
They won't even look at him. And so that either points, and I'm not sure what that means. I don't know if that means that they're that sorry of a professional, or if it means that this kid, in their eyes, in practice, in film study, hasn't earned the right to come over and talk to them like that. I don't know which one it is. Either way, it's bad.
Well, look,
it's bad.
It's kind of, to me, it's kind of being the quarterback. It's kind of like it's kind of being the boss, right?
Yeah.
Even if you think your boss is a total tool, you still have to say yes, sir. Like, he's still the boss. He's still in charge. So if your quarterback comes over and is trying to rally the troops, the least you could do is show him a little bit of respect. Look at him. I mean,
you've got to put yourself
something.
in his position, man. It's not easy to go over there and talk to those dudes that way.
No.
And I mean, he wasn't handing them. He was asking them. The only part of it that was audible was, "How can I help you?" But they're getting him sacked, man. He was getting murdered in this game.
Yeah. Now, the rest of the way, listen, it's not getting any easier for the Redskins up against it. You got the Lions, at Carolina, at Green Bay, Eagles, Giants, and then finish up at Dallas.
Look, you've got this is what
30
you've
seconds.
got.
You got 10 seconds.
You got McLaurin, you've got Geis, and you've got Haskins. You've got that amount of time to try to establish them as your 1, 2, 3 punch. And if you don't, then at least you should try.
Yeah. It's a tough go for the kid. I kind of feel bad for him.
I do too.
I feel bad.
I felt bad for him as soon as they drafted him. I knew what he was in for.